Hey guys, welcome back to MMA Library. Today in MMA and UFC news. In a recent interview with Helen Yee, Javier Mendez spoke about the possibility of Islam Makhachev fighting at 170. Here's the clip.
He would like to also fight at 170 in the future, possibly go for that gold as well. So do you see that happening within the next year or two, him trying to target, welterweight gold?
I 100% see that. If that's what Islam wants, yes. If that's what he wants to do, yes. Unlike Habib didn't want to do that. Habib's goal was never to be welterweight or middleweight, because if Habib wanted that, he would have been that. But Islam, I have heard him, he has mentioned it to me that he wants to go to welterweight at some point, but he wants to clear out the division. He wants to defend the title more than anybody has. So I think once that goal is accomplished and he's made that goal a reality, which I believe he will, then I think he'll think, maybe I'll go to welterweight then. But I think we're a little bit far away from that, because this could be his first title defense. I think maybe 4 or 5 more title defenses, then maybe the topic of him going up to 170 is very, very entertaining.
Tom Aspinall said that it's unlikely he'll be able to return to fight at UFC 286 in London. Unfortunately, Aspinall is still recovering from a knee injury sustained last year. Here's what Aspinall had to say in a recent interview. "I'm not ruling it out. At the minute, it's still like 14 or 15 weeks away, and at this point, I've not done much heavy training. It's just been rehab, really. But can I get ready in 14 weeks? The answer is yes. Will I be ready to start a title run in 14 weeks? I don't know. And if I don't know, that's not the answer I'm looking for. It's highly unlikely, but not a complete no at this point." Aspinall went on to say that he still hasn't done any kicking, and he only recently got the clearance to begin wrestling again, so it looks fairly unlikely that we'll be seeing him fight at UFC London. Sean O'Malley reacts to the news that Jake Paul has been signed to PFL. Here's the clip.
That's what I'm saying. Is he going to fight too?
Yeah.
So he is going to fight.
Yeah, he's fighting.
So that's okay.
He's bringing Jake Paul to MMA.
Damn, that's interesting.
Super interesting. Because everyone's been saying you're not going to get into the ring, you're not going to get into MMA, you're going to stick to boxing, and so he's doing it. I don't know. What do you want to see? I mean, he's called out Diaz. You saw that too.
Yeah.
2 fights, 1 in boxing, 6 months later in MMA.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
If he picks the right fights and literally just wrestle defenses, I wouldn't even say don't even train jiu-jitsu. I mean, you might as well train jiu-jitsu, but if he got good at takedown defense, I mean, he picked up boxing pretty quick.
Yeah.
Some, guys aren't like, just because they're MMA fighters doesn't mean they'd whoop Jake. Jake's got good boxing. Good takedown defense. Learn how to check some kicks. That'd be important.
Yeah. Do you think that's too much? We don't know what he's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, it depends who he fights. If he goes and fights anyone that's a really good wrestler, I would take him down. But if you could fight some guy who's, 6-3, who's a kickboxer, doesn't wrestle at all, there's ways he can win.
Alexander Volkanovski believes that Max Holloway could still beat most of the top fighters in the featherweight division.
The other guy that you fought last year and you beat is Max Holloway, right? With you as the champ, where do you think he sits in the title picture, man? Because he's still one of the best in the division, without a doubt. It's just that he's lost to you 3 times.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. That's why I said in the lead up to that fight, I felt like it was more on him. Because obviously, if I lose, that would be bad too, right? But I mean, for him, I just felt like, because again, a lot of people still would throw his name in being one of the greatest featherweights, and because he is one of the greatest featherweights and stuff like that. But I felt like, his title, himself in the title picture and all that, he loses again. That makes a lot of things hard. I felt like that does a lot to him, and I said that I was a bit vocal about that early. I still think he was a great champ. I still think he's a great fighter, and I still think he beats most of the top guys anyway.
Big John and Josh from the Weighing In podcast break down why they believe trading UFC star Max Holloway for Bellator's AJ McKee would be a bad trade for Bellator.
No matter how much I love Max, I think that it just wouldn't be a good trade. I'd rather have the younger. If I'm running a promotion, maybe I'm wrong, John. Do you agree with me? If I'm running a promotion, I'm trying to keep the young guy.
And I agree with you. Look, I love Max Holloway. I think one of the most entertaining fighters there is out there in the sport today. He's fantastic, but I do look at the fact of, I always compare fighters to cars. You can only crash that car so many times before it doesn't run very well. And Max has had a lot of accidents. Now, he's come out on top in a lot of those accidents. But how long can that car maintain at that level based upon that damage? It's tough. You know, he might go on for years, but he might break down, you know, in only 1 or 2, and that you never know. And when you look at AJ, I look at a guy, yeah, he's got 1 loss. He accepted no damage in that loss. You know, the worst thing that's ever happened to him is is a cut, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, he hurt his knee in the Campos fight.
yeah, but that was fixed.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, it
you know, that's one of those ones I look at. It's like, yeah, but really no, you know, I look at, you know, and I've said it before, you start getting, you know, hit with big shots, you get knocked out, you get concussed, you get 3 concussions. Hey, everything starts to change for you. And it's not an easy thing to just work your way through. You got to do the right things and working your way through those, you know, problems and stuff. And it changes you as a person, it changes you as a fighter. And that's why we're saying, like, AJ, he hasn't had any of that. So that would be a tough trade for me to do.
Daniel Cormier talks about Dillon Danis pulling out of his boxing match with KSI a few days ago.
I saw Dillon Danis on Ariel Helwani's show last week and then pull out of his fight. Guys, it's time to start ignoring him. Let's just make Dillon, let's take him out to pasture. We cannot keep giving him the spotlight he wants because he will not fight. The Dillon Danis show is officially over, guys. Tune him out. Dude will never step back in the combat arena.
What do you guys think about DC's comments? Will we see Dillon Danis fighting anytime soon? Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. John Anik and Belal Muhammad discussed Belal's plans for 2023 in a recent episode of the Anik and Florian podcast.
Guess I'd ask you, maybe I know you'd like to fight in March, but assuming that Usman Edwards maybe does happen in March, and you may know more than me, when do you want to fight? Would be my question to sort of lead you into this.
Assuming that's the fight they're making, that's the set in stone fight, I would definitely want to be on the same card. And saying I want to be on the same card is I want to fight on the same card. I don't want to just sit there and hope that one of them get hurt and one of them gets sick during this thing and like that I end up getting lucky to get in there. Like I'd rather fight, train for an opponent, and if it's one of those other opponents, like I'll be in a good enough shape and a good enough place to know that I can fight any one of those guys, no matter who it is. Because if I'm training for Chimaev, I have to be ready in wrestling, grappling, striking, everything. If I fight Kobe Covington, I have to be ready in those. If I fight Usman, I have to be ready in those. If I fight Leon, I have to be ready in those. So it's not like, oh man, if I fight Damian Maia, I have to make sure my jiu-jitsu is 100% on point because this guy's a specialist in this certain part. There's none of those guys are like specialists in certain areas. They all are pretty good everywhere. So I think for me, it's like I could swap out one of those guys the next day and I'll be fine. Like if I sign up for Chimaev and hey, Chimaev's out, you got to fight Usman. I'm good with that.
Islam Makhachev has posted some recent footage of his preparation ahead of his fight with Alexander Volkanovski in February. He captioned his post with, "What's the weather like in Australia? Who cares?" Here's the footage.
Наконец-то смог я тебя зимой вытащить.
Обратно в парную. В домашних условиях не повторять.
Плохо видно, но нормально. Что, Ислам, как ощущение?
Сегодня суббота, парная, но я уже готов к понедельнику. Даже воскресенье не нужно. Холодная процедура восстанавливает.
Guys, thanks so much for checking out the video. If you like the content we do here on this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe to MMA Library for all the latest MMA and UFC news. We'll see you in the next video.